talk about this. If we have sides, we'll have 10 minutes for each side. All comments will be made about the project being presented. This is not a venue for personal grievances. If you hear the gavel, you are out of order, and if you persist, you will be removed from the meeting. Once your request is heard and the board's decision is rendered, you may leave the meeting. However, if you have questions for staff, please wait until the meeting is over to ask them, or you may contact staff at the office on the following day. Once public testimony and discussion of a particular item is concluded, board members will deliberate and render a decision. Members with a personal or financial interest in any request are required to recuse themselves from voting. All decisions by the Architectural Review Board are final. Any person who has a request for a certificate of appropriateness denied by the board may appeal such a denial to the Montgomery County Circuit Court. Any such appeal filed with the Circuit Court within 30 days of receipt of the notice of the final decision of the board. We have 5 members present tonight. 6, I'm sorry. It takes a simple majority of voting members to pass a motion. May I take a moment to introduce people? I'm Elizabeth Brown. I'm chairman of the board. Katie Williams to my here is vice chair. Kalia Bell, John Hayden, Jake Johnson, and Hillary Morgan. Thank you. All right. Warren Adams, Sean Rose, David Babb, and Nakia Ruggs. Thank you. Thank you. The first project tonight is a fence in Capitol Heights, 125 North Lewis Street, Gloria Williams. Thank you. Tell us about your fence.
Yes, Miss Elizabeth, what did you just say?
I said, tell us about your fence.
About my what?
Isn't it a fence?
Oh, I'm old, baby.
That's all right. Me too.
I'm an old lady, but that's okay. All right. And I got somebody here if I don't understand something. Okay. How y'all doing this evening?
We're fine.
Y'all look good, so I hope y'all give me an approval. But anyway, let me tell you about the fence. If you look at the property on the screen, well, don't go for that, because that's bad. Okay, right there on the screen, that fence, when I bought that house in 2022, had a left fence that adjoined to the house that go all the way over to the end of the property line. What I did was, I have a brand new air conditioning unit that cost me almost $10,000, and I'm paying through Spectrum. I owe them too. But anyway, the power company, Alabama Power. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, so I don't know the Alabama rules too good, but I'm learning them real fast. Okay, so that fence that you see over there, what I did was to try to protect my air conditioning unit. My neighbor told me, Miss Carol next door, she say, you need to cover your air conditioning unit, because she say somebody might try to steal it and steal your copper, because they can just walk straight in. So what I did was I built like an L shape. So at the end of that fence, I came in about 3 feet and then went down 20 feet, went over 15 feet, and made a fence so nobody couldn't take my unit. But then I thought they might can cut it. So I just put a little cover around it so they wouldn't see the fence on the side and in the back. And when you're standing at the end of the street, which is not that good, Willona, because I'm at the corner of Willona and Lewis. When you stand at the end of my driveway, which is on Willona, you can't even see my fence because I only went back, not at the end of the house, kind of in the middle. And then also that line up to make that L went up 20 feet. And it can't be seen. And I didn't know that I needed to do all of this, what I'm doing now, but I know now from Mr. Sean, who was very nice to me, Mr. Sean Rose, that is. But I'm asking because the people that put it up finished it, even though I asked them to stop. Had finished it when I got back home from the hospital. And so Mr. Sean Rose told me I still need to get an approval because I was supposed to get that at first. Me not being from here, from Charlotte, North Carolina, you not knowing, I know now. And I just ask that all of you, Miss Cahill, Mr. Jake Johnson, Miss Elizabeth Brown, Miss Katie Williams, Miss Hillary Morgan, and Mr. John Hayden, that y'all would give me an approval to protect my air conditioning unit. I might look young, but I'm 65. So I'm an old lady and I live by myself and I need an approval. And I know from now on, Mr. Sean told me always get approval before something is done, but I know. So that's what I'm asking for tonight, and I appreciate you guys.
Is there anyone in the audience to speak to this project?
Ma'am?
I'm asking if there's anybody in the audience in your neighborhood that wants to talk about this project. But I don't see anybody.
What you say, baby?
You're fine. You're fine.
I can't hardly hear or see these bifocals.
Yeah, Ms.
They're
Williams,
terrible.
she's asking if anyone in the audience wants to speak on the project.
I got a lady here to help me understand your ruling, but let's don't bring her up and see if I could try to help myself. I want to try to help myself to stay where before I don't want to get dementia and stuff too bad. But Mr. Sean did tell me to bring somebody, and I brought a nice lady back there. She's a lady that I met since I've been here. I don't have no family. All my family dead. Mama, daddy, 2 sisters. I got one daughter that lives in New York. She's a lawyer. She say, Mama, make sure you obey all the rules. You got to find out before you do stuff, because I was crying about this. And she say, yeah. And she say, but Mama, you got to find out. I say, okay, they explained to me. But she's here in case I don't understand something y'all tell me today.
Thank you.
She'll be here. I ain't trying to shoot no missiles or nothing. I just want to get approval for my fence.
All right, is there anybody?
Like the war start doing. I love to have fun, and Mama say, you talk too much, Gloria. Be quiet. But that's all I got.
Brown, I would like
I
to
enjoy.
move to
I
approve
just
as
can I get
submitted.
everybody approved? Mr. John, Mr. John, you're not smiling.
I am.
Smile because I'm a
We've
good
had too
person.
many missiles fired in this world. The
Well,
last few
look,
months
I'm just
anyway.
saying, I ain't asking for much. I ain't asking for y'all to back me up trying to protect the neighborhood or nothing. I just want
Ms.
to be
Williams,
able to
Ms.
protect my
Ms.
air
Bell
conditioning.
is trying to
Ms. Williams,
make a motion.
I'm trying to get you back to your seat. So
Oh, you ready for me to go? Well, I'll enjoy. I don't have. Let me just say this before I go. I don't have no family here. My mama passed. My daddy passed. No family. But that's why I want to talk, because I ain't got nobody to talk to.
No, you're fine. You're
All
fine.
right, Miss Bell, I'm gone.
Yeah, wait. Stand right there.
What
Wait a
you
minute.
want me to do
I
now?
want you to stay right there.
Okay. Just stop talking.
Yes.
Okay.
I move to approve as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Hey, I won.
All right.
I won.
All right.
God bless all of y'all, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And Mr. Sean, thank you for explaining stuff to me. I appreciate it.
And enjoy your lovely house
Good.
and your lovely air.
Okay, I really enjoyed y'all. I really don't want to leave, but that's okay. I'll go home. She gonna drop me off, and then I'm by myself again.
We're here every month. Bye.
Right now we need to appoint a committee to go and visit her.
Why can't every presenter be like that? Come on.
What a lovely lady.
All right. Barry Robinson, welcome.
Hey.
I'm sorry you missed those. Those didn't say anything
I am
at
too,
all
Barry.
here.
Need to watch the replay.
Okay.
Number 2.
I've lost my agenda. Thank you.
We're on number 2.
Jean Mahan, number 10 Howard Street. Gina, high bar has been set for entertainment value tonight.
I don't think I can compete.
I'll give you $1 if you can.
Yeah. I guess what I'm here about is something that we got approved by the ARB last year, and due to some timing and some other projects, I didn't get time to go get the variance. And now I'm back in front of you since you are all now doing the variances. So I'm asking for what we all agreed to last year, pretty simply.
I guess when we approved the fence, the variances were still going through, which was it, Warren? Who handled them?
That would have been Board of Adjustment.
And so since we approved the Board of Adjustment, we now have the authority to grant variances. And so
Yes.
now, okey-doke, that's what I thought. Makes sense.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised too.
And
so-
I understand sometimes you get approval. I've done it myself where you don't start immediately and then something happens, but
Yeah, and this was subject to, like, our neighbors had some comments that we acceded to, so I think everybody was in agreement that it was,
okay.
So this is
We
the
remember
same
this one.
fence we approved before.
yes.
All right. Warren, is there any particular language that needs to be in the motion to make the variance?
Really just that you approve a 3-foot height variance and a 30-foot setback variance.
Wait, I didn't quite hear that.
You're requesting a 3-foot height variance
Yes.
and a 30-foot setback variance.
Correct. The main thing at issue was that in order to keep the fence level for the length, the ground drops off, and so we agreed that we would bring in some fill dirt to build up the
remember all those.
height of the dirt at the end, so that the fence would be a
Even across.
continuous height.
Yeah. I remember we talked about that last time, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes.
I think, yeah.
That was what the neighbors were mostly.
Yeah, and I don't think, that was not a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there anyone in the audience to speak to this project? Does anyone on the board have further comments?
No, I move to approve the request of the 3-foot high variance and the 30-foot setback variance to be installed on the side yard property line as previously approved by the board.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? All right. You may go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be happy I didn't try to entertain you.
Candice Frazer from Church of the Ascension, Garden District. Well, now, I'm sorry she's sending you two up because Candice would have jokes.
She's been a bit,
Start by clarifying that neither of us are Candice Frazer.
you're not in high heels, so I know you're not.
Yeah, that's right.
So I am Daniel Hughes, and this is Richard Norris. We're both members of Church of the Ascension and on the vestry. And we're here today to report back to you after the most recent meeting where the church was requested to get a structural engineer engaged. And I believe that you all have a copy of the report.
Yes.
I've got a little bit of a passion myself for historical redevelopment and have had the pleasure of working with Gordon, our engineer that we engaged, for about 32 years now. We've managed to save a few, but sometimes they're just so far gone that there's just nothing you can do, and that's really the bottom line here. We'd like to talk a little bit about what the church's hopes and plans are here. Richard can speak to them, but I will first ask if there's any questions about the report.
We've heard this before, right?
Yeah, this is what came up last time, and I don't,
Right.
if I can remember correctly, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we had an issue with what was actually presented. The concern was just the fact that we didn't have a structural report to
Right.
back up the demolition for the
Right.
board.
Exactly.
So in my opinion, that has been provided. I read based on the way that the report read for everybody, basically, the structure would basically have to be demolished and brought back up. So,
Well, it indicates the floor and the roof and the side, everything would have to be replaced, according to Mr. Davis, who I happened to have used years ago when I bought my house to get a report. So basically what you're saying is you got to rebuild the house.
That's what I believe too.
And I guarantee, I mean, I haven't looked personally, but I'm sure, you know, the structure itself with the wiring and other interior things like that would have to be replaced, which I do know. You know, you'd have to rebuild the house.
And
Well,
the church has just recently bought this.
Right.
The church did not own it when all of this was, you know, slowly but surely happening with the weather through the years. But unfortunately, this is about the only thing we can do now is knock it down.
All right. Is there anyone from the audience to speak to this project? That's fine.
It's not
Hang on a
on.
second, ma'am.
Can you,
Yeah,
Warren,
you're-
can you
you're
turn the
good now.
microphone on?
Try now.
I think it's on now.
Okay.
Hi, Christina Cadden, GDPA President. Typically, we would strenuously oppose any demolition in the Garden District, but we have just discussed with the Church of the Ascension, and we do think that it is appropriate, especially because you guys provided the structural, or the report that you guys provided that states that the house would basically need to be entirely redone, and it would help with a lot of issues that they've been having right there, so we do support it.
Okay. All right. Questions or comments from the board?
I move to approve as submitted.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
Stallings and Sons, about the remainder of the building at 39 North Perry Street.
Thank you. I'm Rick Stallings, Stalling and Sons General Contractors, and we got a demolition application in with the city to remove the remaining wall that's standing on 39 North Perry, the old Weber building. And I forwarded some drawings from structural engineer Gordon Davis showing where it proposed either demolition, take it down, or marry it up with the wheel building wall. And that building is owned by the city, and they elected to not proceed with marrying it up and said they wanted the wall removed. And also sent you some pictures of it also.
Okay. Are there any comments from the audience about this project? Comments from the board?
Mr. Stallings, if you remove this wall, what is your site plan? What do you intend for this particular lot, I guess, once you remove the wall?
Well, there's been some discussion to fill in the basement and use it as a playground for a Valiant Cross school, and there's our discussion to build a new structure there.
Warren, may I ask, what are the, if something new is going to be done on this site, what sort of development requirements will the city have for the development of the project? Will it come back to the Architecture Review Board for design review?
Yes, anything that goes there will have to come back to you.
Okay.
The site is actually still designated,
Okay.
so it will have to come back to you.
Okay.
And just for my own edification, when you have a single structure designation like this, it's actually the property, not the building itself, that is historic.
It's the land, yes, the
Okay,
site.
so anything that goes on the property, you understand, Mr. Stallings, if you decide to put a playground or another building, you would have to submit plans to the board for approval prior to any construction.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So it's my understanding that we're supposed to give whether or not it should be demolished even though it was a landmark, I mean, the building's gone. I mean, it is
It's not
demolished.
going.
So what we're talking about is a wall. In my opinion, I think that we allow the demolition, but it's not for us to say how it's being done. The structural analysis and all that would have to go through the city building department. And that's not part of us. I'm sure you submitted to the building department for what you plan to do to get a permit and things like that.
Correct.
The city's position at the moment is that the city would like to get a structural engineer to look at this before anything is demolished. There were a couple of issues with the application. It appears the drawing is dated in 2018. So the drawing's actually out of date, and the city is in the process of bringing in a structural engineer to actually have a look at it, because the city now owns the building next door, and this wall has been exposed for many years, and so I believe the city wants to be prudent and have a structural engineer look at it before any demolition takes place.
And I agree with that, but I don't know if that's our place to say. I think that's where when you get a city permit, they request that, not for us to say here, because we don't look at structural anything, really. We look at the structural integrity, like the other building prior.
With all due respect, you just
that right?
requested a structural report for a demolition.
Yeah.
And it is also, just for clarity, typically, it is ARB policy to require site plans when we are approving a demolition of a main structure. This is a little bit of an odd situation where there's only a brick wall remaining, but normally we would ask, like if they were asking to demolish a main building, we would ask for site plans for what is to be developed there. So that is another consideration.
Warren, does the city intend to, I don't want to put too much on Mr. Stallings. Is the city prepared to pay a structural engineer, someone like Mr. Davis perhaps, to come in and look at it? And quickly, if something's held up, we're kind of holding Mr. Stallings' property from what he might do in the future, and I don't want to do that. Do you know when the city...
We've been informed that the city is in the process of acquiring an updated structural evaluation of the wall and the potential impact of its removal on the adjacent city-owned building.
Okay.
And the concern is obviously that this has been exposed to the elements for some time.
Sure.
And this actually only came up after the application had been submitted and it travelled further up the chain. And so there appears to be some concern from the city engineering department about what the impact could be on the adjacent building.
Right.
Because we need to know if the exposed wall has to be sealed, if the exposed wall requires repairs, if water's penetrated through the exposed wall, and we're really taking our cues from the building and the engineering department as to the potential damage that could have been caused over the years to the wall of the city building.
I think when we talked about the last job, for instance, at the church, for me, that's a full building, it's a full structure, nothing happened, that when we're looking at a full structure in its entirety, that's where I can say, hey, I think we want a structural report to support that. In a situation like this, though, where we're looking at the wall, the rest of the building clearly isn't there, The basement, to me, is an open condition that's surrounded and can maintain a completely different thought process, in my opinion, in terms of safety related around that basement and in the condition that it's at, So I think that for us on the board, my opinion is that they have a right to come. I'm in agreement with the removal of the wall, and the infill of the basement, to create a standard ground covering. I think that the conversation related around needing a structural engineer to look at it, I think that's fine and I can understand that point, but I think that really falls on the city. And the city permit department, which you have to have the permit in order to do the demolition. So I think ultimately for me, unless I'm hearing otherwise, we as a board, they're coming to us asking for, can we do the project? I think the answer for myself is yes, right? I support the removal of this wall and the infill of this location, especially knowing that anything that's going to be built there then has to come back to us for design review. But I think the removal of it then goes to the city for the approval of the permit, and if they ask at that time that, hey, I want a structural, then that's the right of the city, but that's not necessarily the board.
Yes.
I agree with what Hillary's saying. I think my biggest concern is in the event that any demolition occurs before the structural analysis is performed, we risk losing another building. We've lost one already, and I don't want to lose the building that the city's purchased because the wall, it's not a party wall, but it's been probably leaning on this existing wall for many, many years. I don't know what this building dates back to. My biggest concern is if demolition occurs without the due diligence, then losing a second building on this block that would just further degrade the downtown fabric.
But is the due diligence our issue?
I'm not saying that it
No,
is,
yeah.
but I'm saying
Or-
that I
or
think
the-
any
right.
motion
I mean,
has to have the stipulation.
It seems to me
that-
like the city would just deny them approval to do the actual demolition, deny the permit, you know, until they create those, what they
I was gonna
want.
say, I just feel like it's kind of, this is like out of order.
Yeah.
Like, we really just should be looking at what it is that you propose to put there, not necessarily anything to do with the demolition. Because like everybody's already said, the building's gone. So there's nothing for us to really speak to. But coming back to us and letting us know what you want to do, that is where our approval would be necessary.
I think the way I hear y'all, I think for me, Jake, is and Gloria, if the thing is, hey, we approve the removal of the wall, okay, in the infill, as noted, okay, with the stipulation that the city approves the permit for the removal of the wall. I think that ultimately.
So upon their approval, we do approve as well.
Correct.
Let me make sure I'm also getting correct in my mind. The city is concerned removal of this wall could have some adverse effect on the building that the city has purchased. Is that what they're worried about?
Yes, which potentially could be eligible to be designated historic as well. And this is also the National Register District. So, you know, there are concerns that we would want to know exactly what the condition of that wall is on the city building before anything is done, because that wall has been exposed. These drawings date to 2018.
Right.
So it's been exposed at least since then to the elements, to water, and the city is in the process of getting a structural engineer's report to see exactly.
Well, the city, even if we were to approve the demolition, the city, when Mr. Stallings requests, because you're going to have a permit, correct, to take this wall down.
Yes.
Couldn't the city just say, wait a minute, we're going through we're having it evaluated, we're not going to issue it yet. We'll issue it subject to an adverse report or however they want to do it. Phrase it by the structural engineer.
Just to put this in a historical context, we approved the work that was going to go on in this building that actually caused the building to fall down. So I think that, but it's not our purview to you know, do engineering or structural review. That's the city building department. It's not our department. So I think we should just worry about whether or not this remnant of the historic building can be taken down.
Have they given you a permit already?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a permit yet?
A building permit may not be issued unless the ARB provides a certificate of appropriateness. Now, if a COA is issued, is granted, then yes, a building permit or demolition permit will also be needed.
So what we could say is we approve it pending that the city does their due diligence on the structure.
Well, we didn't approve it for the architect to do the due diligence on the building before it collapsed. That's just not our purview.
That's true.
We're counting on the city and the architects and engineers to do their jobs. And sometimes things happen.
Let me share this with you, if you will, please. If you look at the structural engineer drawing that Gordon Davis prepared that I've presented to you, this on there was two proposals. One to marry up and connect these two walls, and the other one was to take the Weber building wall down. Now, there is an airspace in between these two existing walls. And if you look, it's braced off at this time. When Mayor Bright was in office, we did a project for the city to remove the roof, put new trusses and a new roof on this building. And those braces remained in place at the request of the structural engineer, Gordon Davis. Now, that mortar is lime-based mortar, which is no longer in existence, and you can take your finger and dig it out. That's the reason that wall's still braced. If it wasn't, it'd come down on its own.
I'll be honest with you, my concern is hazard. I mean, if it were to come down and somebody be in the area,
that's the city's purview. We really don't have the expertise on this board to do that. And I think we just need to approve the demolition or not approve the demolition. That's our purview.
Do we approve or disapprove pending? Can we do that pending what?
It's not our job.
I just, look.
It's not our job.
I agree. I don't think it's our job. Our job is to say, give either permission to take it down or permission not to take it down. And we would have to state a specific reason for not taking it down. And right now, I can't think of one.
The specific reason is that the city wants to get a structural engineer's report on the city-owned building next door to make sure removal of the wall would not have any adverse effects.
All right, let me ask you this, Mr. Stallings. Would you object to us passing on your request for maybe 30, 60 days to give the city their opportunity to do whatever they're going to do? And if we're not going to do it indefinitely. I mean, I know that was recommended. I really think that again, this is property that we're, something. Yes, sir.
No, sir, I don't have an objection, but the city's position is, I think, that we've got to receive approval from you before they'll issue the demolition permit.
Okay, here's my thing though. If the city is the first step is getting approval from the board, and we're giving approval from the board to say, yes, we are okay with removing of this wall, all right?
Yes.
Then we have done our job. Then it falls on the city, for the city to make the decision, the city to get the structural engineer, the city to approve the permit, the city to do anything else that they need to do, and it removes this board and that complication from it and puts the decision on the city, at which case, if the city wants to go and get a new updated structure before this happens, they have a right to do so before they issue a permit.
Thank you.
Can I suggest then that if you approve the COA, there are some conditions. Number one, the work does not start until the city has received a structural engineer's report.
He can't do it anyway because he has to have the permit that's approved by the city.
And if you're not willing, if you as a board are not willing to put conditions on it, that's entirely your choice.
And I'm sorry, I'm getting hyped up, and I'm not trying to get hyped up at you. Sorry.
It's entirely your choice.
Okay.
But I think the city has a right to be concerned about the city-owned potentially historic building in a National Register Historic District, which was adjacent to this building on a wall that's been exposed since 2018.
And I
understand.
We don't disagree. We're just saying it's not our purview to say yay or nay on that. That's the city building department.
The city is an owner of the building. It has those responsibilities.
Has those rights, but it's not.
May I make a motion? I'd like to approve the demolition of this building with the understanding that when design proposals are available for what's going to go on the site, it comes back to the Architecture Review Board for review.
Second.
All in favor? That's our job.
I know that that's our job, but there still needs to be something that covers, that says a little bit more about the structural
That's the
necessity.
city's job. It's
I
not
get
our
that. I
The
understand
city,
that.
I think what's being asked of us right now, and this is why I'm getting a little bit upset, okay, is I think the city is asking the board, okay, to say no to this, so that they can then say the board didn't approve this versus the board, the city being liable. And in my opinion, it is our job from the board's perspective to only look at this wall and is this an acceptable project for this, and not make a decision relating around the permit. We're still giving the city the opportunity to do whatever the city needs to do, structural reports, denial of the permits, whatever they need to back up the other building that they own.
I believe that the board is there to assess the impacts on any buildings in a historic district. That's what you do. If someone comes in to build something new on that site, you will be assessing its impact on the adjacent buildings. So I don't see that there's any difference there. I don't think you can look at things singularly, piece by piece. You're responsible for all historic buildings and historic districts. I can suggest another motion if you're willing to.
Let me ask, Mr. Stallings, would you be willing to wait until the city gets their structural engineer report and see what it says? Because I do agree, is there a possibility taking this wall down could hurt or damage an adjacent building? Would a structural engineering report answer that? Sir, you need to say something?
A structural engineer report will assess the potential for something to happen to that wall. It will also assess whether any repairs are going to be required to that wall through the removal of the other wall, and it will assess if there's been any moisture intrusion. So the engineer's report will really assess these things.
Because I don't know if I've been through this situation before, other folks may have, and especially the architects, but you're talking about, okay, this wall, from what I'm hearing, it needs to come down. The question then becomes, okay, it's next to a building that is not historically designated at this time. But if you take this wall down, is it possible that it could damage the adjacent building? And I don't know what we would have to do then. I mean, you can't just leave it there because it's useless. And I've seen some of the, the lime base, some of the old mortar they used back in the 1860s, I think, when this was built.
50s.
I lived in Selma. I got to see a lot of old buildings, and a lot of things like that. I mean, this stuff is dust. So,
well, now the city has been, they have received a structural report from Gordon Davis, and then after their review of it, it was their determination. They didn't want to join the two walls together. They wanted the wall to come down, and that was given to Kippy Tate with the city.
Yes, ma'am and sir. Robert Smith, City Planning Director. I think the structural report that Mr. Stallings is referencing, as we had a meeting about it earlier this week, is a 2018 structural report by Mr. Gordon Davis. And so the intention is, the city is concerned that the wall might impact the existing building. And so the city is literally hiring a structural engineer to study that wall to determine whether or not there would be impact when and if it does get demolished. And so, if I can give you a suggestion, maybe you approve the certificate of appropriateness with the condition that the city get a structural report, which they are, and if it meets the city's requirements, then the wall can come down. But you still give the certificate of appropriateness pending the city's further review and approval. Yes, sir.
He mentioned Mr. Gordon's report. Did Mr. Davis's report, did he suggest either marrying the walls together, or did he suggest taking it down? Have you seen the report? You know there is a report?
I know that there is a report,
Right.
and y'all may be a little more familiar with the report.
I haven't actually seen it.
Okay.
All that I've seen
I think the only thing we've seen is a drawing
is what's
prepared
included
by
in the
Gordon,
agenda here.
by Mr. Davis, the structural engineer.
That's right. All I received was what is in the agenda packet with the drawing and
it's
the
got
pictures.
And it's got a 2018 date, which is why the city wants an updated formal
So-
structural report by a structural engineer.
So let me try one. We approve the demolition of the wall pending that the adjacent owner is allowed a chance to
Study
verify the structural integrity
And conditions for taking the wall down.
and conditions for taking the wall down.
I think that would
Thank
work.
That way it doesn't come back to us.
All right.
Second.
Did you second that?
I second it.
Okay.
It is. All right, all in favor? Opposed? Thank heavens.
We have an abstain.
It'll be purely
I abstain.
administrative. It would be purely administrative at this point on the city's side. So y'all have done what you need to do.
Have y'all employed someone, hired someone to get this done? Because again, I don't want Mr. Stallings to have to wait a long.
Yes, the city's in process of hiring a structural engineer ASAP.
Great,
To get
thank
that
you.
done.
I would say if you don't, it's gonna come down on its own. It's not a good-looking wall. I just looked
Right,
at it.
right.
It'd be done, better if it was done
Sort of surprised it was still
mechanically.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Kathleen Floyd, 3318 Lexington Road, Cloverdale, Idlewild.
Hi, I'm Kathryn Floyd at Cloverdale, Idlewild.
All right.
And requesting approval to add an enclosed porch and to add some gutters in the back of the house to mitigate some rainwater issues and change the roof color.
Okay. Any questions from the audience, any comments from the audience about this project? They are mute on your desires.
I saw it and have no problems with it, so thank you. I thought it was will look nice.
And
Been by the
I'm
house.
sorry you had to go through that last
Very nice. I
little
think it's
bitter
gonna look
thing.
I'm sorry.
I live in Cloverdale, Iowa, Maston Lane, so I've been by this house many times. I think this will be a very nice addition.
I have one concern. I'm not going to disapprove anything, but I promise you I'm not. I'm very concerned about this area in the back of the house where the roof meets and the water looks like Niagara Falls coming this way. You know, the valley between the new construction and the old construction needs to be metal, even if it's got the shingles on top of it. And I don't think that a standard size gutter is going to be big enough to catch this
Carry that
water.
water.
That it's going to need to be like a 6-inch gutter or something like that across the back of the house.
Okay.
And you know, I had an architecture professor tell me one time as we drove by something, oh, that's a leaker. Well, you know, this is sort of like, this is something that anybody can look at and say, ooh, that's going to be a problem. So just make sure that you keep the gutters clean, which is a problem for me all the time. I have trees growing in my gutter right now because it's so high. This one is at least close enough that you could get it on a ladder of reasonable length.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that would be my only suggestion.
Will do.
I'm not going to make any more motions. Will
I
someone
move
please
to
make a
approve
motion?
as submitted.
Second.
All in favor? All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And Dana Shook, 2145 St. Charles Avenue.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and I'm asking for permission to add a storage shed on the back part of my property. There's an existing concrete storage shed on the back part of my property. There's an existing concrete slab that used to have a detached garage that was taken down before I bought the house. And so I'm just looking to get something to put things in.
Outside storage,
Yeah,
yes.
outside storage.
All right.
My concern, I'm just gonna state this, I don't have a necessarily concern with the shed in the back. My concern is that it's plastic. So, I understand that these are prefabricated units, but I really am concerned with just the material selection in the historic district. So,
Are there aluminum options that you might be thinking about?
Yes, you can see one of those in the figure number 6.
I think that's the neighbors.
It's the neighbors, and it's much worse than what she's proposing. Have we ever approved a vinyl shed?
Approved of what, plastic?
A vinyl shed.
I've racked my brain. I don't think we have. I could be wrong. I've been on this board as long as you have.
Most sheds I've seen, we try to make them have a little bit of the character of the house.
Yeah. It's not the shed's the problem, ma'am. It's the material. And I mean, if you found something that was under 100 square feet, you wouldn't have to deal with us. You could just go talk to Sean and get it taken care of. Anything under 100 feet, he may have told you. If it's under 100 feet, he can approve it administratively. If it's 100 feet or over, then you come see us. Have you looked at some other sheds?
I did a cursory look at what was available, and the reason I was going with this particular one is it looked to be the best value for the money, because I do find like the wooden prefabricated ones to be more attractive, but they're also 10 times more expensive. So.
And I went through the same thing about 3.5 years ago, putting a shed in my backyard. I actually had someone build it, which was, I could get it the way I wanted it, but then he also got paid the way he wanted, so I understand.
Well, from a design point of view, I don't have any problem with this one. It looks appropriate to be in the backyard of your house, and I wish that you could afford to stick build one that would echo the design of your house, because it's so handsome. But I understand that we're all not made of money.
Yes.
I go back and forth on this one because typically we do not approve the vinyl fence or vinyl siding of any kind.
Yes.
However, a prefab shed of any kind is temporary in nature. And
Yes.
this, I feel like, is even more temporary than a wooden panel-built prefab unit. I agree with Elizabeth. The appearance of it, the design of it overall, I don't have any issue with. I just struggle with the materiality of it, ultimately.
see, I agree with y'all that the look of it I have no concerns with.
No.
Okay?
No.
But you said temporary. Okay? Here's my thing. How many times do we hear something's temporary and we get 50 years down the road
Sure.
and it's still there?
Yeah.
And so that's where I say we haven't, that I'm aware of, approved this material before. I think too, by approving it, we are then and it's right, we don't approve vinyl fences, we don't approve these out. So by approving this in this form, it gives an opportunity for someone in the future to also do this in one of our areas. So for me, we need to either go with a metal or a wood-sided shed that would meet the historic nature of the area. And I do understand the struggle, and I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that. I did look at metal units, and there was not much out there that I felt would look attractive with my house.
Mm-hmm.
So
The one that's across the fence is the typical of what you get on the metal.
Mm-hmm. And you know, it just, that to me sticks out as an eyesore.
Can this be seen from any public way?
Mine or the neighbors?
No, your shed, is it gonna be seen from the street to the sidewalk?
It's figure 6D. It's like at the back of a driveway.
Yes,
it's very obscure. You'd have to like kind of look pretty hard.
Kind of reminds me of my first shed. If you slow down and look down the driveway, you could probably see it, but just driving by, you're not gonna see it.
Yeah, and like with where I'm parking my car, like you would have to look around the car to be able to see the shed itself.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to be very nosy.
I think we're pretty much all in agreement. We had no problem with the shed. We don't have problems with the dimensions. It's gonna go on a pad that, I guess was an old garage. And our concern being that, I guarantee you, if, we approve a plastic shed, they're gonna start coming, because now, and I don't know if you called for a motion, Madam Chair, but.
What size is the concrete slab that you got? And it looks like it slopes as well.
So it is 20 feet by 20 feet.
Okay.
So your shed would just sit in the middle, you'd have concrete all the way around it, wouldn't you?
Yes. There should be a picture somewhere in there.
There is.
Yeah.
Page 62.
If she went to like the 8 by 10 shed versus the 8 by 13,
Then it's up to Sean.
then it's up
If it's
to
under
Sean.
100 feet, it can administratively be approved, correct?
Yeah, just to add though, it is the size part. The 8 by 10, I believe, is the size, but it is also materiality. In our expedited procedure, it says, needs to be compatible with the house. So that would be wood, I would think, for this house.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why we're here, is the materiality, again, back to what the board has discussed here so far.
Well, it is not inconsistent with the decisions that we've made in the past as far as materials are concerned.
That's right.
Yeah.
Are you saying we have approved plastic?
No, I said it is not consistent.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right.
Miss Anti-Linda here can hardly.
All right.
I hate to do this, but I think that just because it's not something that we would normally approve and that we have not approved it in the past, that I would ask you to look and see if you can find something that you can afford that goes on this, that both of these things. That's of a more traditional material.
And it's really not about you at all. It's really about us. If we allow this and we're going to get plastic sheds from here on into eternity, and it's really not in keeping with what we're supposed to do.
Okay. While yours meets the visual, we will have some that definitely do not.
Yeah.
We don't want a little tight shed out there that's 10 by 15.
So, may I ask, what material do I need to be looking for?
I think wood is your safest bet.
Okay, because my concern with wood is it will deteriorate quicker.
Yeah.
And then I will have to be back here asking to have repairs done, and that will cost
Well,
more.
you don't have to come.
If some are made out of hardy plank,
plank?
you could, that would be fine too.
Yeah, and wood and hardy plank, it can be maintained. It's about maintenance, when we're talking about a natural material. So, plastic will last forever, but, that can be seen as a negative as well. So I can certainly share, if the board is heading toward a denial, I can share the expedited procedure with you. And, if you're able to find something that meets that criteria, then I would just approve it on a staff basis. So that'll give you some information about the materiality. I don't think I shared it just because this is what you submitted and it didn't meet that expedited procedure. But yeah, we can work toward something that would meet that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
We still need a motion.
Well, I was going to actually make a motion to approve, subject to the shed being constructed of either metal or wood, and with consultation with Mr. Rose to ensure that that's the proper, consistent with the house, in other words. So if you do find something, then you can go ahead and install it, and again, if it's, I think that would be the better thing to do.
Yeah, and that would keep the size what is submitted.
Right, you wanted it over, you want one over 100 feet, that's fine, then you have approval. If you happen to find one that's, I think I had mine built 96 feet, didn't have to go through the architect, through the board. If you find one that's 96 feet, just, again.
So really, it's not an approval, it's a denial of the plastic shed, but subject to going through the expedited process, should you meet the criteria.
Approval of the size, disapproval of the material.
I guess that's what it boils down to.
Is that what we're,
I mean,
no?
Do we need a motion to deny? Yes.
See, I think you're trying to approve the size because hers was 103 square feet.
Right, hers,
But
that's the reason she's here, because the size of the square footage of the building is over 100 feet or over, so it has to come before us.
He said he wouldn't have approved the plastic regardless because it's plastic.
Yeah, so it's both.
So I think it's denial of a plastic shed and subject to resubmission of a bigger, larger wood or metal shed or hardy plank, or you could go through the expedited process.
Yeah, you can do a denial and, like you were saying, Katie, give suggestions for resubmission that you all think would be approvable. So yeah, that's a good way. And then if it is over, like if it doesn't still meet, I guess what I'm trying to say, if it meets the expedited procedure, then I'll just approve it. If it doesn't, then we would come back with a revised submittal.
Okay, I move to deny the approval of the shed based on the materiality of the shed presented as plastic and not maintaining the materiality of the main house and the architectural fabric in which the house is seated, and will allow for the expedited process of a wood shed or metal shed, hardy plank, a material that is more fitting to the historic nature, to follow the expedited process with approval by the staff. Anything larger than that will be required to come to the board for approval.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. I'm sorry. The minutes of the last meeting were distributed to the board. Did anyone have any additions or corrections?
Did just want to note I messaged you all, I think, yesterday with a correction, so just want to make sure you all got that as a correction to the application or the approval for 1234 South Lawrence from last month.
Okay. Are there any other additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, they stand approved as corrected. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.